Good morning and welcome back down to the allotment. It's a cooler day today. Having said that, I can just feel the sun rising and getting warm. So what we've got on the card today is basically a lot of weeding and then a little bit of planting. So the first thing we're going to plant is some sweet corn, and I'll just show you the sweet corn. I'll flip the camera around. We started the sweet corn off mainly in root trainers, and we did put some into a small set of cells, so you can see that there. So germination's been a bit poor, so we've got 3 out of 4 in the first one, 2 out of 4 in the next one, 3, well, we could call it 4 out of 4, but the one's a bit weedy, and then 1 out of 4. So the germination's not been that great. The variety is incredible, so not really lived up to its name in terms of germination, but we've started them in root trainers mainly, and that's the way we normally go. So you can see the good roots that we've got on those that have germinated. But just look at these, which are a bit... So although this one plant is weak, I might still put it in because it's got good roots. And if we come across and look at this next one, this one's not so good, although if we flip it round you can see there is some root there. So again, I might put that in. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and out of these, which are not in root trainers, I've probably got 1 plant I will use, so that'll give me 12. And with sweet corn, you probably know that you do it in blocks. So in this bed, I shall plant out probably 3/4. I'll get my 12 plants. What we have got as well is a small pumpkin. So I don't know how many of you have heard of the 3 sisters method. So what we will do is plant around that pumpkin plant, and we basically go for a 2 sisters setup. The 3 sisters approach to growing is growing sweet corn, pumpkins or squash plants, and beans. We won't put the beans in with these, but we'll grow the pumpkin amongst the sweet corn. They tend to go well together. So I'll set the camera up and plant these out, and you can see me do that. Okay, so the first thing to do is to get these out. Like I say, they are nice roots. I'm careful not to damage the roots. So what I'll tend to do is put any weak plants, like this one here, will go in the middle. They'll get a bit more protection from the stronger plants. These are nice and strong, so these will go on the end. Considering these were put in at the same time as these in the root trainers, you can see the difference. We've got pretty much the same germination rate, but you can see that these plants are all quite weak compared with these that are in the root trainers. So that's, like I say, the benefit of the root trainers. We use them for the sweet peas, the sweet corn, and what you'll see in a couple of weeks' time, we also use them for the parsnips, but I'll go through that in a couple of weeks' time in terms of why the method we're using for the parsnips. Okay, I'll discard those. So you can also see here, I suspect that this plant won't be very strong because all the roots have condensed down here. It's whether these roots will actually go down and form long tap roots. We are promised some rain, so we've had a very dry spell at the moment, This bed's not too bad. I can find a trowel. So it's quite dry on the top, but hopefully if I dig down, yeah, there's a bit of dampness down here. So one of the advantages, if you're growing in beds like this with any depth, the beds dry out quicker than the flat ground. But if you've got roots that are going down a deep amount, they can still find some dampness and some water. All right. That was interesting. When I put the trowel in, then actually found a mole, a track where a mole had been. The trowel went straight down. I don't know whether you saw that on the camera, but it suddenly went down quite a way. That's where the mole had been. Our biggest threat on the allotment to growing sweet corn is actually the badger. The badgers tend to like the sweet corn, and they will get to the corn before we do quite often. Okay, so as I was saying before, sweet corn is best planted in a block because that's the way the pollination works. It's pollinated by the airflow. So if you plant it in a block, then there's a chance that the pollens will get transmitted to the neighbouring plants. If you plant in a row, you've got less chance of that happening. So that's the last one put in. As usual, we just give everything a really good water. So this bed was prepared last autumn. It was covered with the spent hops. That has prevented most of the annual weeds from starting. So we haven't had to do a great deal to this bed. Okay. Just a little advice: if you do grow in beds, then the temptation when you plant something is just to water the plant itself, but you're better off watering the whole bed, because like I say, the beds do dry out quite quickly, and if you just water around the plant, then some of that water will be dragged away in the surrounding areas. So rather than go down straight, it will be going outwards and dragging away from the plant. So if you water the whole bed, there's less chance of that happening, and your plant will get some of the water that you intended for it. Yes, it does help the weeds grow around, but that's a small price to pay in terms of healthy plants. Okay, I'll move on to the next job now. Okay, so the next job now today is to plant out the runner beans. And we've got two varieties of runner beans. We have got White Lady and we've got Benchmaster. So I'll start off with the White Lady. So there'll be 1 or 2 plants per cell. So these are the White Lady plants. This ground's been prepared for a while. So like I say, we put 2 seeds per cell. A lot of them we've only got 1 come through, but that's fine. Some of these plants look a bit desperate for water, although the compost is damp, but they'll have a good soak once they're in. This soil is quite clayey soil. These plants probably will get a bit of a check because they've been in the polytunnel and then they're being planted straight out, but it should be a relatively small check in their growth. Okay, so that's the White Lady put in. I won't bother trailing them up the canes today. I'll leave that for another day. Let them get established. Like I said, they'll have a good soak in a minute. So I'll stop the video, put the other row in, and then give them all a good soak with the water. Okay. Now we've moved the runner beans out, we can do a bit of weeding in the polytunnel. Okay, so I've got the main jobs I wanted to do today down the allotment, putting in the sweet corn and the runner beans. So I've got to just take out side shoots on the tomatoes in the polytunnel and then look at where we're going to put the French beans. But that's all for this video. See you again soon.